Pastor Bill Wilson is the founder and senior pastor of Metro Ministries, America's largest mission to children. And what began in 1980 in one of Brooklyn, New York's roughest neighborhoods now ministers to more than 42,000 children worldwide every week. Before we get to meet Bill face to face, and just to give you a little bit of an idea of how rough the Bushwick, Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood is, let's take a look at this video.
In a very strange twist of irony, this is not the first time Reverend Bill Wilson has survived a close brush with death.
It is an astonishing story, Tim. Happens right here in this spot on Wednesday. The minister, Bill Wilson, was standing here, turned around, taking pictures of the beautiful Manhattan skyline. It was for his church newsletter.
Pastor Bill Wilson was here on Kent Avenue and North 9th Street around 10 o'clock Wednesday evening.
All of a sudden, out of nowhere, two men walk up and try to rob him.
One got the pastor into a chokehold from behind, shoved his gun into the pastor's mouth, and pulled the trigger twice.
The minister thought, this is it. My life is over. A gun down his throat, and the mugger pulled the trigger.
And I heard it click. And I knew then that it was pretty serious then. So I thought, well, I better do something.
I knew that they weren't playing then. I knew that if I could stand there and take another one, or I was going to have to do something. And I just said, Jesus, help me. And I turned, and the gun went off, and it just felt like my whole head exploded. I was a little disoriented, obviously, and so I just got back to my truck and called 911 and then drove myself to the hospital.
I know that could have been the end, very easily, but it wasn't. That's what real faith is when you know something and you believe it, and then it's put into action.
The minister is meeting today with police. There are no suspects in the case, but Bill Wilson won't sit around and wait. He'll be out preaching again tomorrow.
Whether people choose to believe in miracles or not, this was a miracle. And I'm sitting here today because it is a miracle. You know, my time is not ready. My job's not done yet.
Reverend Wilson founded his Bushwick-based Metro Ministries Sunday School 22 years ago. He offers Christian teaching, anti-drug and anti-crime programs to 20,000 children each week in several Metro Ministries around the city.
Reverend Wilson has been preaching against violence, against drugs for 35 years. He works closely with children. It's his passion.
Members of Reverend Wilson's church met him at the hospital.
My little boy was like distraught. He was crying. He was feeling bad about it. I mean, I try to comfort and keep him strong, just like Pastor Bill would want.
All New Yorkers can celebrate Reverend Wilson's survival.
You know, when my mother left me on the street corner when I was a little kid, that was a defining moment for me. When I got hit with a brick several years ago, it was a robbery. Same deal. That was another defining moment. And I think now this is another one.
And after 25 years of service and leadership, both in Bedford-Stuyvesant and around the world, Pastor Bill is still driving one of the school buses week in and week out that pick up kids for Sunday school at Metro Ministries. And it really is our honor and privilege to have you here, Pastor Bill.
Thank you.
I love you so much.
Thank you.
To me, you're one of the guys that are larger than life. You know, your testimony, your story, the amount of passion you've poured into kids all over the world, and you're still going. Never quit. Never quit.
Still going.
For our friends that maybe didn't catch the Operation Holiday Hope special last night, your story, one of the things that touched me so much, you know, why you still driving the bus?
Why do I drive the bus? You know, it goes back, and I'm not the victim guy, you know, like you see on a lot of secular TV shows where everybody goes, oh, you know, this happened and you know, my mother did this and my father did this, and that's why I'm an idiot. You know, you're an idiot because you're an idiot. You know, it's choices. You make the choices. I have every reason to be an alcoholic, like my parents, every reason to go down that path of life. But like I tell the kids, life is choices, decisions, and consequences. Mm-hmm. When you understand those three aspects of life, then it's on you. Mm-hmm. My mother left me on a street corner when I was a kid. She said, you wait here. And she walked away. She didn't come back. Mm. So I sat there for 3 days. And finally, after all the people walked by, all the people who drove by in those 3 days,
Yeah.
one man stops. He gets out of his truck, he walks across the street, and he asked me one question. He said, "Are you okay?" I'm here with you guys today doing what I do because one man who's not a pastor, not on TV, none of that, he was just a Christian.
Yeah.
Just a Christian. He didn't have to pray about what to do, didn't have to go to a seminar,
Yeah.
didn't have to read a couple of books. He saw the little boy that nobody wanted.
Yeah.
That was it. I told him my mother was gone. I hadn't eaten for 3 days. And immediately, he gets his wife. She brings me some food. He gets on the phone, and 5 hours later, now this is from the point of connection, 5 hours from him seeing what my deal was, knowing what had happened, he makes the call. I am now in a church van on my way to a Christian youth camp where I heard the story of Jesus for the first time. So, why do I drive the bus? Because you know, every week when I drive the bus, you know who I'm picking up.
Yeah.
I'm picking up me.
Yeah.
It's me.
Yeah.
Every week. That's why, and I don't say this much, but a lot of times I'll stop the bus while we're picking up the kids, and I just walk outside, go to the back of the bus. Because, you know, that was me.
Yeah.
That was me. And it's still as real as it was back in 1961. I mean, I live it every week. And every Christmas Eve, I go back to the corner where my mother left me. I've been criticized for that a lot. But I go back and I sit all night by myself on the corner. Why? Because I just don't want to forget where I came from.
Yeah.
A lot of folks forget where they came from. I haven't.
Right. You know, Bill, it's funny because we were kind of talking before we came out, and as somebody that grew up in that setting, it's like you said, there's some things that you will never forget.
That's right.
I mean, they will stay with you for the rest of your life. And it's kind of difficult to explain to people what it's really like to grow up in that kind of setting. But for those, we did see the video, but for those that may not know, can you please just kind of explain what it's like for a kid to grow up today in that Bedford-Stuyvesant, Bushwick area?
Well, you know, you lived on Vernon.
Yes, I did.
That doesn't mean anything to those of you watching, but her and I know exactly. She knows where I live. I know where she used to live. And you live in fear every day. And I think that's the hardest part for a child. I mean, you were telling me that when the elevator used to open in your building and you'd see blood and your mom would try to hide you from it. But you can only be hid from so much. And you go to school and you see things that a little kid should never see. We were picking up kids down on Jefferson Street, which is my bus route, Jefferson Troutman. And the cops had the street blocked. So I pulled my bus up, and the kids were waiting in the middle of the block for the bus, but I couldn't get the bus down there. So I pulled the bus over, and I had my workers stay with the kids that were already on the bus. And I walked down this side of the street, and I saw the cops standing around this car over here. So I got all the kids, and we were marching down the middle of the street. And as we were marching by, we saw, apparently it just happened maybe an hour or so before, but a guy was laying back in the car with a knife stuck in his chest. So he's dead. But I'll never forget this, and you'll know what I'm saying here. As we walked by, and all the kids were just like this, and just walked on by. Because it's normal. It's just, a kid should not have that as their point of normal reference. But they live in a world they did not create. But if you're going to survive, and you know this, Kelly, to survive, you just got to do what you got to do to survive. So we walked by the dead guy in the car, got on the bus, and nothing was said, nothing was expressed. I just got on the bus, and we started singing the church songs on our way to church.
Wow.
You want to know what life is like in certain parts of America, folks? That's what it's like. And it's not fun.
Whether it's Romania, the Philippines, South Africa, right in the